So first, let's go back to the very beginning of how Wix actually works. Wix is a self-hosted program. What does that mean? Well, it means basically that I'm just going to... So I just realized I'm not on the good microphone, I'm on the crappy one, and I want to make sure we got the right sound coming through there. So let's just check that. Sorry, I should have all done all this before I started, shouldn't I? Yeah, it's coming through now. So Wix is a self-hosted program, which means it doesn't need all the strange and weird bits and bobs that you normally have with web hosting, say with Joomla or maybe WordPress, which is probably one of the most known ones. It's a website platform, so you can build a website on the platform, but it also has the web hosting included with it and built in. So you're not going to have to get something from something like SiteGround or Venture IP or HostGator or Bluehost or any of those guys. You don't need that. It's all included in one place. And then they've got their extended apps as well. Things like Wix Hotels, if you're maybe got an Airbnb, there's a booking system that allows you to take bookings for rooms. There's also lots of shop options in there. You can host your Amazon store through there as well, so that you can have everything that you're selling on Amazon also reflected on your own Wix website as well. And there's many, many others. We'll take a look at what some of those look like a little bit later on. The Wix platform also helps you manage your domain name. So you can buy your domain name through Wix and have it hosted there, as well as your email that works through. Well, look, I won't go too much on that because we've got a few more slides to get through that sort of explain how that all works. So the domain name, you can either buy the domain name with Wix. I don't think they do .com.au domain names just yet, but they do .com. So quite often when you see Australian businesses that have a .com instead of a .com.au, a lot of the time it's because they started their website journey in Wix, and Wix didn't allow them and still doesn't, I believe, sell .com.au domains. But if you want a .com.au domain, you can buy your domain elsewhere. You don't have to buy your domain through Wix to use it on Wix. You can buy it elsewhere, and there's a few different techniques that allow you to connect that domain name through to Wix, and we'll look at those very shortly as well. Your email can be either hosted elsewhere. So if you want it through Office 365 or Microsoft 365 because you like Outlook, you can do that. You can actually have the domain split. So your domain name points all the web traffic to Wix and all of your email traffic and calendar traffic out to a third-party service like Outlook or Office 365, Microsoft 365, whatever they're calling it these days. It changes name every year by the looks of it. But their main way of doing it internally with Wix is through Google's Workspace. So if you know what Gmail is, then you'll know what Google Workspace is. It's basically the pro version of Gmail, and it allows you to set up your account all within Wix, and your monthly cost for it, which is about $8 to $16, something like that in Australian dollars per month, will be handled through Wix. So it's just one place where you pay it once a month, and it's all completely handled there. The website platform itself will allow you to design it from scratch. So if you're someone who's used to using web builders and page builders and that sort of thing, then Wix is a piece of cake for you. You can just go in there and create everything you want to do from scratch and just create the pages you want and layout you want. But then there's the rest of us, those of us who are not living online all the time and not always living with Wix, and certainly not with page builders and all that. We may want to go, okay, we want to use a template. We want to use something we can see which looks really good and help that to become the new face of our particular business. And there are literally hundreds of free templates and then even more thousands of paid templates as well. If you don't find one in the free collection, I tell you now, you're going to find one in the paid collection. There's some stunning templates out there, whether they're free or paid, and that includes things for e-commerce, not just for regular websites as well. They do offer a lot of stuff for free once you pay that initial monthly charge, and we'll look at pricing shortly too. The extended apps can have things like bookings. I mentioned Wix Hotels before. There's also time booking. So if you're a coach or a consultant or something, you want people to book something with your calendar, we have things in Wix that allow you to connect through to your calendar to check your availability. So it's like Calendly, for instance. And you can use Calendly if you like, if you prefer to use Calendly, which is also free to begin with one particular appointment type. Then you can use that within Wix too. There's shop options, payment options, calendars, and many, many other things, including little tweaks to displays of things. Now, just be careful with the extended apps when it comes to Wix, because whilst they're all very, very workable, and they all do work with Wix, and they're all vetted and made sure that, that they work before they're even allowed on that marketplace, it is still marketplace. So there's a lot of these apps says that they are free to install, and they might give you a very basic functionality of that app. When it comes to, say, adding a payments type to it, so say you're working with a booking system within Wix, and you want to take bookings, but you don't just want to take bookings, you want to take payment for those bookings. Whilst taking one kind of booking within the site will be included for free with that install for free option. Once you start adding more premium things like accepting payments through PayPal or Stripe or other things, then you start adding costs. And what happens is that cost comes on top of your monthly cost for Wix, which actually comes on top of an annual cost for Wix. Unless you've been with Wix already for a year, they do make you pay a whole year's worth of their monthly fees all at once, which can be pretty heavy. It can be well over $100 just to get started. That's if you're using the paid option. You don't have to use the paid option. There is a free option as well. And that's why we look at how much all this costs, because it sounds like it's too good to be true. There's lots of great systems in there, lots of great services in there. But how much is it actually going to cost us at the end of the day to host a Wix website? Well, it is free to start. They're very honest about that, and the free product is very good. It does have watermarks on it, so it says Wix, and it also gives you a weird looking site address. So it's your account name.wixsite.com/site address. It doesn't look great. This is not going to look nice on a business card or on a pop-up banner. It's going to look cheap. So they always deliberately do that, really, to encourage you to commit to them for a paid account, so that then you'll get often a free domain name. So you get a free .com domain name, or you can get your own .com.au name elsewhere as well. So you don't get a domain in the free to start. You get that strange address down the bottom there. You don't get any real add-ons, although they're free to start with. Once you get in them, they'll require payment on a monthly basis for them. And they do have a couple of hundred free templates. And those two templates range from, pretty ordinary through to some pretty nice ones. All of them are very, very clean and very elegant and very easy to follow and use. But one thing I know that a lot of people strike when they start working with other people's templates on their websites is they make a few changes to colors and make a few changes to fonts. The next thing, the thing looks really horrible and it's become a mess. And they can't believe that they have this beautiful template that now looks like it's terrible. And that's because we're human. We can't help but fiddle with things. We think we've got a better idea of what the colors will be, or we've got a better idea of how that font will look, when realistically, every one of those templates were put together by a designer who has a real eye for these things. They understand how people's eyes work when they look at websites. And so once you start messing with it too much and putting too much of your own flair into it, and I know it's tempting because we like to be creative, then the template starts to fall apart. So I really recommend that if you get a template, keep it as close as possible to what you can. Now, once you move out of that free phase of Wix, the costs start to go up a bit, and it can be quite confusing because usually we go lowest cost across the highest cost. Instead, what we've got here is a whole lot of really strange packages that sort of relate to each other but don't relate to each other, and they've got limitations that sort of jump all around the place. And with a personal website, this is not really a business website. You would think, at $39 a month that would be a business website, but this is really for, it's a professional personal site. And the Nettie just asked what kind of price range is the paid template. Well, they're all very, very different depending on who the designer of the template was, because they can start from anything from $5 and $10 up to $150 for very premium sort of things. So they do vary wildly in cost according to who the particular designer is and what they're doing. Now, when it comes to these prices, these are really not made for business websites, even though not many of us really have personal websites. The business class, you can use these as business sites. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. But the minute you start mentioning to customer care that this is a business website and it's losing money for your business when you're having a problem with it, then they'll say, well, this is a personal website, not a business website, so you don't get additional priority. Mind you, at $39 a month, you do get additional priority customer care. So you get that higher than just their 24/7 chat support. You get a bit more. It does give you a fair bit of storage space. 3 GB is mostly enough for most people, but if you're a bit of a photo hog and you like to load up very, very high level photos, high resolution photos and lots of them, bear in mind that every time you do that, you're going to be loading up between 20 and 30 megabytes at a time. 3 GB is a lot of space, but it gets filled up very, very quickly. And that doesn't also take into account the amount of stuff that comes across with the template. So all the template files as well become part of your storage space. You do remove Wix's own ads once you go to a paid version like this. The video hours that you're looking in here is the amount of video that you're putting into the system. So you can get around that by embedding YouTube videos into your Wix site. You don't have to use Wix's own video server. Where they've got 1 hour, that means on the $23 a month plan or the $15 a month only gives you 30 minutes of your own video loaded into Wix videos, not say videos that you've hosted on YouTube that then you embed in there. So if you want to avoid those video hours, definitely host your videos through YouTube or somewhere else, so you're not then coming up against their limitations. But 5 hours is quite a lot of video, unless of course you're a coach who's doing lots of video work, and these days we all tend to do that. Then this is probably not going to be one of the best ways for you to look at it. I'm going to move on from this one because in realistic terms, we shouldn't really be using personal websites when we've got businesses. This is the kind of range we're looking at. And sadly, it goes up because the expectation of a business with their website being available and usable is much higher. So it applies to things like secure online payments. If you're taking bookings for your time, there's a secure online payments are included with that. You can set up plans and recurring payments, which is great. So for instance, if you've got someone who's picking up a coaching job, or so say you are doing school holiday entertainment for kids, and it's 4 weeks of holidays. So you have a recurring payment coming out of $25 for each child for each week. So you don't want to take the full $100 up front from the parents. You want to give them the option of paying it off at $25 a week. You can do that as part of a payment plan or a recurring payment. You get a free domain on the .com only. It gets rid of the Wix ads. You can also get a lot more storage space. You notice there's a lot more storage space on there as well. You got the video hours at $58 a month are unlimited. So you can see there are the options to be able to use the Wix videos if you are doing a lot of video. But we've then got the idea of like, what do you use these websites for? At $32 a month as a starting point, is this suitable for a small business? And you go, well, Barbara, Lynn's asking here if Wix is suitable for a photography gallery. They've actually got quite a number of photography gallery themes, so it definitely is, and you can use it to sell them. I do have a friend who's selling large format wall-sized photography as a service through a Wix website, and he's been very happy with it so far. And you can take lots of different payments, including splitting it up into a printable canvas, into a print that's just rolled into a tube and sent off, or it could be ordered for very large format printing and print on demand websites elsewhere. The connections of Wix shops through to things like print on demand services and drop shipping, not great. It's not Shopify. It's not really built for that kind of thing. But what it is built for is the ability for someone to manage their own stuff. And that's what Wix is really their highlight is. It helps you to manage your own stuff. They also do e-commerce, so you can do a real shop in there. You can have unlimited products, abandoned cart recovery, which is great. So it sends off emails to people who may have abandoned the cart. People can subscribe to certain things. The automated sales tax and shipping options as well. You can then connect your Wix shopping through to Facebook's Commerce Manager. So you can have Facebook shop and Instagram shopping and even TikTok shopping as well if you qualify for that. Drop shipping is, on its own is not, you can't just use any old drop shipping connection. You've got to use Modalist, which is one of the bigger drop shipping connections, I guess. So if you've got a drop shipping setup, you can do that. And then there's also product reviews that are able to be displayed in there as well. And like at $58 a month, you're also getting the ability to use a loyalty program as well, which allows you to have certain discount codes to encourage people to come back and buy from you again. Jenna is asking if it's true that content you create belongs to Wix if you use them. What you'll find is that the website itself is rented land. So it'd be like, for instance, if you were to make adjustments to your rented house on another owner's property, another owner's house, then any of those changes become theirs. So your actual content, your photos do not belong to them, but there'll be some ridiculous terms of service that will say that, you know, once things are in there that they reserve the right to use you as promotion for Wix. Now, bear in mind, you'd have to be a spectacularly good and very successful and very beautiful website for them to want to use you in their promotions, but they don't own it. You still own all the content. It's your copyright. It's your trademarks that are in use in there if you've got them, but especially as your copyright because you wrote the content, you put in the pictures, you took the photography, you own that. It's just the same with Facebook and Instagram. They don't own the photography you do. You hold the copyright for that, but they do reserve the right to approach you to use that in promotions for their services as well. So yes, you still own that. They don't. That's a very common question that comes up on most of these DIY website systems. There's a lot of myths that go around about Wix, and I'll come across a few of those a little bit later on, especially some about, you know, how bad it is for SEO. A lot of the information we've heard about Wix was from 10 plus years ago, and was spread a lot by a lot of WordPress web developers. I'm a WordPress web developer myself, and honestly, I completely feel fine working in WordPress or Wix or Squarespace. They're all got their pros and their cons. They're all very good at what they do. They just might have some limits. And that's what you might find with Wix. When it comes to shopping and e-commerce, it may have a few limitations you're not really happy about. So the pros and the cons. The upsides, well, there are no website hosting charges. So you don't pay separately to a web host to put your website on it. All the costs within Wix are in one place, except for maybe the domain name if you built the domain name from elsewhere. But if you bought the domain name within Wix as well, you get it for free for a year and you renew it through Wix as well. So what would normally be your web hosting, your monthly fee is in there, and your email and all that can all be in that one platform. And they do, I admit, have excellent customer service. Now, WordPress, when you host it yourself, doesn't have great customer service. You're often at the mercy of a local web designer who, you know, is doing it as a side gig. And I've been there and done that, and it becomes very hard for them to sort of manage being a full-time job plus also managing websites for all their clients as well. Not an easy thing to do. So having a host and a service that actually has everything on there and everything that they use and everything they sell is approved by them means that their customer service is great. It means that everything is built to work with Wix properly. And if it's not, it never makes it onto their platform. So their customer service is a mixture of chat, leaving messages, email, all that sort of thing. And they've generally got pretty good customer service levels to get back to you. Whenever I've had issues with Wix, they generally get back to me within 20 minutes, which I think is great. It gives me time to go off and do many other things as well. Shrees is asking, would it be best to change an outside domain name over to Wix on renewal? I don't think you necessarily need to. It's more so is if you are planning to do all your email through Wix as well as the website, it may be more useful for you to just transfer that over to Wix. But you don't have to. There's ways of you, and they're not particularly hard. And there's really good help files that help you work around using an external domain name within Wix. Like for instance, I never ever manage domain names within Wix. I always buy my domain name over in one service, and then I point the domain name to Wix to handle just the web traffic, just the the www part, the actual website. I don't want Wix necessarily handling my email because I handle all that through other services that I work with and sell separately to that. So you don't have to do all that. The downsides to Wix though is that in your first year, the pricing may be quoted monthly, but it's actually charged annually. And that can be a little bit steep when you're first getting started, particularly when you're getting at that $58 level. What you're really doing is saying, well, yeah, I want the $58 level or the $32 level, but I have to pay 12 lots of that all in once. You've got to pay a year's worth all in one go. That's where it gets a little bit steep and a little bit expensive, that you're not just paying a monthly fee. So you think, oh yeah, I'll pay my $15 this month. You're actually paying $15 times 12 all in one payment to secure you for a year. Now that can be really hard. That's why they give you trial periods. You always get your 14-day trial where you can have a go and see if the platform's for you before you do commit to going ahead with Wix. So it's one of those things where you have to do your sums and figure whether that's something you're willing to do straight up front. Sometimes it's great to get that all out of the way. I'm a person whose budget is crippled by recurring subscription costs every single month that all seem to want to renew at the beginning of the month, which is usually uh, when I get to the beginning of the month, that's when everyone wants to charge everything, and that's on an off-pay week for me. So it's not a great week for me to be getting all these things coming out of my account. So you've got to bear that in mind, that this actually might be a good thing if you pay it all up front and get it out of the way for the year and only repay it once a year. Great question from Donna. If you use the email through Wix, will you get all that spam mail? So the email through Wix is actually handled by Google. It's handled by the professional level of Google's Gmail. It's called Google Workspace. And that has all the spam filtering that Google provides, which is excellent. I use Google Workspace for all my email. I don't like using Outlook because it's just too inaccurate with its spam filters. And using web host based email is terrible because it just has no spam filters whatsoever. It doesn't learn anything. It's kind of dumb email, and you just get hammered with spam. So I know that I get probably about 300 to 700 spam emails into my mailbox every day, but I don't see it. It all goes off into the spam folder and I never will see it. Sometimes someone who's not spamming will go in there, but that's like any spam filter anywhere. Sometimes it just misreads it, but it's very, very rare, maybe once every 6 months, that I get someone who says, hey, I sent you an email, and I go looking for it and it's in the spam. So yeah, I think they've got excellent spam capabilities to be able to block that off, because it's not Wix doing the email. You're just booking it through Wix, but it's actually done by Google, and they're excellent with that stuff. Now, one of the other downsides is that whilst it might say free to start up, and whilst all those additional add-ons say that they are free to install, they're not necessarily free to use. It's kind of like in-app purchases on a game on your phone. You can put a game onto your iPhone, and then you start playing it, and you get to about level 3, and it says, oh, now you need to pay me $20. It can get a little bit like that with the Wix marketplace. So if you're doing a very, very basic website where you're just doing, someone was asking, Lynn was asking about a photography gallery before, something just basic photography gallery, you're not doing the payments through there. All the payments and all the sales are done, separately through a phone number or an email address, then this could be a really good option for you. You can take the lowest possible level and work it really well. Where it gets complicated is where you want to do all the payments. You want to do a drop shipping connection. You want to start getting complex with Wix. That's when things start to add up. And before you know it, your $15 a month becomes $32 a month, becomes $58 a month, becomes $58, plus then another $10 over here for this add-on, another $10 for that add-on. And before you know it, you're paying $200 a month for a website. It's just way out of control with costs. The other thing is too, the add-ons they come as they are. So there's not a lot of configuration. It's not like you're working directly with a developer. It's not like it's, for instance, a WordPress site where a developer can build a custom plugin for you. You can't build custom add-ons with custom options for Wix. So whatever that particular add-on does, or they call them app, whatever that app does is what it does. It doesn't do extra. It can't be configured to do extra. It just does what it does. Now, that said, they're very comprehensive. Wix hotels I've seen used by real hotels, independent hotels. Nettie's just asking any tips on how to avoid all the extra add-ons that add up. So what you find is you get a certain amount of add-ons included, and depending on the level of package you're on. So if you get the $15 package, you're pretty much getting nothing. You get maybe one add-on. But as you get up to that $58 a month level, that's when you start to add some of their premium things like Wix hotels, Wix bookings, Wix calendar, Wix this, and all the ones that Wix makes themselves, which are excellent. When you try to use the ones that Wix has actually built, because quite often they are free to start with and have a basic level of service you can use before you have to pay extra. But I would say, it's cheaper for you to up your package level to include more add-ons for free than what it is to get a lower package and then add on, and then it starts to add up. So just like getting a phone, the phone costs a certain amount. You start downloading apps. Some apps are free, some apps are paid, and the way to avoid the paid ones is basically to go, well, look for the free option first. And the Wix marketplace has lots of options. It's not like there's only one booking system or one shop that's available on there. There's several that are available on there. So you look for the one that's free, work with that, see if it does what you want. If it doesn't, then you can start to look at what the paid ones are to get a bit of a better idea for that. So now we look at the upsides and downsides. Look at adding your own domain. And this is a bit more of a thorough discussion than what we sort of had before about the domains. You can buy the domain via Wix or even buy it elsewhere and have it managed by Wix. So that's, I won't say it's simple because none of these things are simple if you've never done them before, but buying a domain via Wix does make it very simple to manage your domain. But you want to make sure if you do that Wix is managing everything of you online. So it's managing your website, your email, and your domain all in one place. It'll be nice and simple. By buying a domain elsewhere, there's certain things you need to do to get it to be managed by Wix, and I'll look at that in a sec, as well as what we call domain pointing, which is where your domain is bought somewhere else, it's managed somewhere else, and you're just pointing that domain now over to Wix, which might actually answer a bit of Donna's question here. Been developing existing websites, has been going for over 15 years. I want to start a new product line of accessories. Would it be best to do a Dropbox on my web page or start a new website with Wix? That's an interesting one because I don't know how closely the two products are related. So you've got the website that's been going for 15 years. If the new line of accessories is the same brand and very closely related to what you're already selling, then you may just be better off adding a new section to the website. So you just now have an accessories option. I don't know that you necessarily need to add on something else unless it's a very different brand name. So if you're selling fashion and that has one brand name and your accessories have another brand name, it might be actually good to build two separate sites for that. But when they relate to each other that closely, it's like, for instance, being Maya. Maya sells lots of different brands, but they don't need a different website for each brand within their world. It doesn't have to be Maya accessories, Maya fashion. They just put it all in one place. So there's you could go either way, really. It just depends on what suits you and what you find harder or easier, whether it's to set up a new site or just expand the one you've already got. Particularly if it's been going for 15 years, it might be a little harder to expand it. I don't know what your circumstances are there, but it could be a little harder. Now, the two different ways you can do it, registering and buying your domain by Wix, means that every aspect about your domain is managed by Wix. You can use third-party email like Outlook or your own Google Workspace account, but the settings are all managed within Wix. So you've always, every time you want to do something with your domain, you want to go with Wix. And I've found many times when I work with other web developers and other IT people, and they say, oh, we want to transfer the email from Wix over to Microsoft. They sigh or they groan every time I mention it's on Wix because apparently it's hard for them. So that may be worth bearing in mind. That may not be the best way to do it through Wix. And transferring that out of Wix can be a little long-winded and can take a couple of weeks to process. So if you really if you get the dirt with Wix and you decide you don't want to work with them anymore and you want to still have that domain name, that can take you a while to get that out. And you still may have to maintain some kind of relationship with Wix because they are the registrar for your website's domain name now. Now, let's just say you bought your .com.au somewhere else. You can actually also have that managed by Wix as you're using what we call name servers. You might have come across this before, maybe. Then you'll go, well, domain is registered elsewhere. The name servers are set to Wix, and you go, okay, then what I'll do there is just go, I'll change the name servers on my domain, and it points all the options for the domain over to Wix, and everything else then gets managed through there, whether it's domains for the email, for the website, for your calendar, for whatever other purposes, your subdomains, all that sort of thing will all be handled over there. Oh, Donna, that's a great question. When making out a new domain name, is a limit on how many letters and words? No. What I would say is keep it short as possible, though. The longer the name, the more letters that people have to type in, and the more letters people have to type in when they're typing your email address, which is very annoying. And you don't really want your first impression of a new customer to be annoyed by you having such a long domain name. So there's no limit. You can just keep going. But like obviously you're not going to have 300 letters in a domain name because that's just silly. Sheree said, I've got a Yahoo business email. Is that an issue? I don't know what a Yahoo business email is. I've never heard of it. I know that there's Yahoo emails you can get, like at Yahoo Mail or at Ymail or something like that. You can probably just keep your email over there. If it's a Yahoo business email that has a domain name attached to it, that might be an issue. You might, because when you import your domain into Wix, or you need to maybe point your domain to Wix, it just depends on whether you've already got a domain. If it's like at Ymail, it's a yahoo.com. Okay, that's fine, Sheree. You have no problem because you're just managing your email through a separate service using their own domain, not your own. So that's not going to be a problem for you. That's not going to be related to anything with Wix. Then finally, if you bought it elsewhere, but you're pointing it to Wix, this is where you registered your domain name for Crazy Domains or GoDaddy or something like that. And you've got your domain, you've used it in bits and pieces. You can have the name servers set to all sorts of different places. You can split up. So there's different names within what we call the domain name service, which is DNS. If you've ever heard DNS, I'm talking about that now. There are quite a few different what we call names. There's an A name, which is the primary name for your website's location. So the A name will be mydomain.com.au. And then there's an IP address, those numbers and dots, that points to where that's located. Then after you've got an A name, you've got what's called a C name. Now, C name is taking something that sits in front of your domain name, like, for instance, www. There can be a non-www address for your website and a www address for your website. Not confusing at all, is it? And that's called a C name. Now, this is also where we create what are called subdomains. So if you wanted shop.mydomain.com.au, then the C name of shop would point to a certain place. It might point to the same place as your main website, but sometimes we like to have our website maybe on Wix and our shop with Shopify. So what that will do is an instruction within your domain that points the C name for shop over to Shopify means that every time someone goes to your shop or clicks on the shop link on your main website, it sends them over to Shopify or BigCommerce or BigCartel or whatever other system you want to use for your shop if you're more comfortable doing that over there. So that's another option. This is what I usually use. I usually use domain pointing. Wix doesn't recommend it because they want you to manage everything in their world, because once you're more involved in their world, you're easy to keep in their world, and it's harder for you to move away from them. It's like Apple. Apple loves you to use all their stuff because the more stuff you use of theirs, the more embedded in their ecosystem and more dependent upon their products that you will be for many years to come. Because I know what I'm doing with name servers and domains and all that, I'm happy to do pointing because I make sure that I have all the servers I want to have and then avoid the ones I don't want to have. Now we talk about third-party add-ons, and this is stuff beyond, I guess, the beyond just Wix's own add-ons. So they've got Wix Hotels, Wix Bookings, Wix Calendar, Wix Shop, all those. There's third-party add-ons that people have developed to work in with Wix. As I said before, the big problem with third-party add-ons is that they can add up. So there might be things like print-on-demand services. So you can have a bunch of T-shirts that you've got designs for, and you've hooked it through to Printful, who are a print-on-demand business. So that they do is they don't hold a warehouse full of stocks of every size of your T-shirts. They just print each T-shirt on demand as they get an order for it. So that's a way that you can sell T-shirts through there. Now, whilst it's free to install, I can tell you now the Printful system is not free. For instance, you're going to have to pay a little for each one of those T-shirts. Every bit of that T-shirt you kind of make a commission on that, I guess. But that's definitely not free. Smart pop-ups and forms, some of those are going to be in the free plan. So they say a free plan available that might allow you to have a certain amount of times that the pop-up will happen. They've got things like spin the wheel for a discount and all that kind of thing. There's web stats you can get. The free plan will give you basics, but you want to go in depth and look over a bigger period of time, you'll need to pay for that. So all these different little professional solutions that help to add a bit more juice to your website, they will start free. Some of them you see there, they're 14 and 15-day free trials, like event viewers, ticketing, and a CRM, so manage customers' purchasing behaviors as well. whilst you've got a 15-day free trial, there will be a monthly cost that's then associated with that particular app, which, this is where things start to add up. Vanessa's asking, if I bought a domain name from GoDaddy and it was cheaper to buy for 5 years, but it's a .com, it doesn't have a .au on the end, do you think that matters? Not really, Vanessa. If you find it easier to work with a .com. .com is a global name. It's not an American name. It's a global name. So it just means like commercial, basically .commercial. And it's for businesses anywhere in the world. Is the original domain suffix. The main suffix means it's added on the end. So it's the original suffix for commercial addresses on the internet back in the mid-90s. .com's fine. .com.au just signifies that it is specifically an Australian company. And what I would normally do is say, get the .com and get the .com.au, because we can point both of those to the same place. So if someone accidentally adds on the AU and there's no AU, they're still going to get to your .com, or the other way around. And it's just good to lock those up so no one else gets them. It'd be a really big shame if you're an Australian store with a .com and then someone else opens an Australian store with a .com.au. What will happen over a period of time, that despite you being around before them, they will get the higher authority on Google results because they've got the .au. It's much more easily to verify that that's an Australian company rather than yours with a .com, which anyone in the world can buy. Only people within Australia with ABNs can buy .com.au. Well, others can fake it and pretend, but when the realistic and legal owner of that name comes around and says, wait a minute, that's my business. How did they get that? You can actually put in a dispute over that, particularly if it's like the name of your business is being registered. It can get really, really scary. The one we're looking at for the spins, is the popped in, is the smart pop-ups and forms. It's just on the screen right now, the second one across from the left on the top line. And also, what's the digital name to these icons that we get added to websites as banners? Websites as banners. I don't know exactly what you're talking about there. That doesn't quite make sense to me, but that's okay. If you can figure out a way to explain that a bit more clearly, I might be able to help you a bit with that. And Vanessa said, I had someone China wanting to use the spinners. That's called pop-ups. Yeah, pop-ups. So pop-ups, or they like pull down banners. They come down from the top, or they pop in from the side. They're just all different versions of usually the same kind of banner. So those things can be done as add-ons to Wix websites, and also to WordPress websites and all that kind of thing. Now, Wix makes some of their own apps. Hotels is one I said before, Amazon, Wix stores, Wix forum, groups, just like groups upon Facebook. If you wanted people to go to your website instead of a Facebook group, you can do that. The Wix Pro Gallery is probably what someone was asking for before when they were asking about whether you can do a site for a photographic gallery. That's where you do it. The Wix Pro Gallery is quite beautiful. There are other gallery options, so you can try that one. Like I said, it's free to install, but once you start getting to a certain amount of usage, that will cost you money. Bookings, for booking your time through a calendar that then syncs with your Google Mail or your Outlook Mail. Wix Events is really good for if you're doing a lot of workshops, online programs, if you're doing courses. People don't think of Wix as being a course platform, but it actually is. You can put courses in here. And because it's all managed from one system, you're not having like your main website then going off to a course website. It's just all in one place. Loyalty programs, forms, payments and subscriptions, blog, all these things are available. I don't really like the blog option on Wix. I don't think it's very well done, and it doesn't allow you to schedule things ahead. It's a bit of a dog's breakfast, their blog. I don't really like it at all. I do prefer to use other platforms for blogging, but it is available there. So when it comes to, and we're going to look inside Wix very shortly, I promise you, when it comes to maintaining a fast and very clean site, then what we do is just do the same thing we would do with any kind of website anywhere we like. We would just go less images and videos on each page. And instead of having that endless page that goes on and 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 on, scroll, separate your pages out a bit. Google likes pages that have one idea. So if you've got 5 different kinds of service, have those services not listed on one page, maybe just have reference to one page, but you click away to get the information for them so that then each one of those pages has one service dedicated to that page. Google likes that. It understands that, knows how to index that. It works way better for your SEO, for your search engine optimization. And also, I know we love them and I know they look so pretty when they're there, but avoiding video backgrounds if you can. Video is a massive hog of space and of time for people's pages to be loading. What will happen is if you have too much of that going on, what you're going to have is people clicking away and not wanting to continue on with you. Big banners and long pages. I know sometimes I like them, but honestly, if I come across a page that goes on and on and on, I just go away because it's just too much. It's what kids call it TLDR, too long didn't read. If I can't read about what I need to read about in your site within a couple of seconds, just at least to get an idea of what I'm looking for, I'm not going to keep going down, 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 down. Oh, it's horrible, isn't it, Cherie? Laura's asking what add-on I should use for getting people to sign up to a free membership. So it's if I go back a couple of slides, there was one called Wix. There is a membership thing. I think it's called Wix Members. Actually, it's not listed on there, but it's called Wix Members. So you can actually have members to your website on Wix. So it's one that they've actually got as part of their own ones. We've discussed what makes a site fast. Your SEO, your search engine optimization, getting a better ranking on Google. There's a lot of myths around this with Wix. I think a lot of WordPress people back about 10, 15 years ago used to bash Wix for being slow and bloated. And what it is, Wix is never slow and bloated. People make slow, bloated websites on Wix, just like they do on any other platform. These days, Wix is excellent with SEO. It's got great tools that help you to manage what we had, like the text and titles. It's got an SEO tab, and you'll see this. I'll show you this like pretty much in the next couple of minutes when we go live in the platform, what that looks like. You can then override what is on the page and show it differently in Google. Bear in mind though, Google has already said that 1 in every 5 of these kind of description overrides will be ignored if Google thinks that what's on the page is more relevant than what was written in the meta title and the meta description. And all the usual SEO principles apply. Keep your sentences short, keep your paragraphs short, keep everything to the point. Make sure there's enough text on there for people to be able to tell what's going on and Google to be able to read it. And don't overbloat things with pictures and videos. Yes, have pictures. By all means, have videos, but don't have them overwhelming someone on that one page, especially the home page. It just goes on and on and on and on. It takes forever to load, and you just got this like wheel of death just turning on your mobile. People just don't wait for it. They'll just click away and go find someone else to play with. So let's go live in Wix. I'm going to go over here. We're going to sign up. I'm going to sign up in maybe this account. Probably already got an account in that name, but that's all right. We'll get the same kind of thing. So I'm signing in as this particular account. You might be signing up on your own. Hopefully this is coming through. You can see that. Yeah, it should be. So now what it's done is I'm a partner with Wix. And I've got a partner program with them. So I can then set up different sites within this. So if I wanted to do a site, let's just say it's my sites. I've got a few up in here. I'm gonna create a new site. Now in this new site, I can start off by selecting the kind of website I want to create. Let's just say someone's mentioning a photo portfolio. So I'm just going to do a portfolio. So next. And it's going to give me some things that might be useful for someone who wants a portfolio site. So it could be an online store. It could be an Instagram feed. I don't really want chat on there. That's not really something I want. I more also want like photos and that sort of thing. So it's looking at all these options that it could give me. Don't know if I really need those so much. Maybe an Instagram feed could be useful. I take some pretty photos sometimes. So I go next now. And a lot of this is just basically getting an idea of what it is. Now, what you can do is create your website using the Wix editor, or you can create using more advanced ones. One's an AI program, which basically asks you a few questions and then builds a website for you. I've never once come across anybody who liked anything about the website that was designed for them through the AI. Editor X is about, you've got to really know what you're doing with things like CSS and customizing code to really understand Editor X. So I'm just going to go start now to open up the regular Wix editor. And what's going to do is get me to now pick a theme or a design that I want to have. So what I'm going to do is, let's just say I'm looking for a portfolio site. What I'm looking for is photography. So I'm going to go creative photography. So what kind of photography is events and portraits, travel, commercial and editorial? I'm going to say, let's do portraits. So it's going to give me now a bunch of different options for portraiture. And as you'll see, some of them will be free, some of them will be paid. So at the moment, I can see just about most of these look like they're just going to be free ones. No one's asking me for it. But let's just say it's a wedding photographer, because that's a very common thing. So I'll just pick whichever one I really like. I really like this sort of boho one over here. So what I'm going to do is I can view it to have an example of what it looks like. So go, yep, that looks really, really nice. Close that so I'll have a bit of a look through it. Yeah, that's pretty. I really like the way it does that nice little, call it parallax effect. Look at like some of the options they've got, some of the couples they've worked with. So it's a bit of like a case study. And so it's just really clean, really comfortable, really easy to read. The weddings that they've done. So Alan Parks has done these weddings. Then we go, here's the wedding portfolio. So you can look at these, open it up, and then flick through them. It's really nice, huh? So you can see the portfolio for that particular couple. And then we can see like client feedback, the different services that are provided. So it does see there's a bit of a portfolio of the different weddings that they've done. And then the services as well. So this is quite a beautiful, simple, clean website that hasn't done that much with it. Now, this has got a bookings based in it, so you can actually book someone ahead. Now, as someone who works on my time as well, I do prefer it if I get to talk to people first before they just book time with me. So booking a client without ever really speaking to them first is probably a recipe of disaster. So you may not have a booking there. You may have like maybe book a half an hour consultation, and you give them a free half an hour just to talk about whether you and your style and their expectations fit one another. It's also a good way of making sure people understand the costs involved in this, because people seem to think that a wedding photographer should be almost doing stuff for free and that they'll pay you in a meal on the day. It's like, no. You're worth money. You're worth time. Every artist is. So yeah, accepting free jobs just for a feed definitely is not the way forward. So if I really like this one and I really like the way it's laid out, I can then click edit this site, and it now sets up a version of this site for me to work on. So I can change everything about this site. I can change the name of it. I can change colors around it. I can change the way those photos to my photos, for instance, and start to work with something really quite very, very personally me. So it takes a while to sort of set that up and provision your service. And now we have this set up. Now you'll notice here on Wix, you've got these lines here. What they're saying is that's what's visible on, that's what we call a safe zone. Within that safe zone, these things will be visible this way on all different sizes of screen. So a tablet or any of that. We can also view what it looks like on different size screens. So at the moment, it looks like, okay, that looks like it's on a desktop. What does it look like on a mobile? We can switch over here and edit the site specifically for what it looks like on mobile. So look at that and go, yep, that's looking really nice on mobile. I'm happy to go. I can skip it, or let's actually start to see it. It'll give us an option. Does the header here at the top, does it scroll with the page, or does it disappear when we scroll, or does it fade when we scroll? So there's different options you've got, or it's just fixed in place. So when it scrolls, it stays in place. So I might go, actually, I want it to sort of always stay there. So my brand's always going to be present. So it's now doing a version of that says, okay, I'm going to have it fixed in place. Now, all of our contact details, do we want it floating on the side? Do we want it listed on the bottom? So it's always showing the bottom, or we don't want an action bar at all. I'm kind of happy to have them on the bottom. So yeah, like that. I think that looks kind of good. And it looks a bit more like an app. And then we can have a top button so that if we want to go back to the top quickly, you can have that button. I don't really like those so much. I think people can scroll. I don't think they necessarily need to press a button to go to the top fast. And now I can go into the mobile editor and start to work with what my site's going to look like on a phone. Now, remember, the vast majority of people who are going to view your site of any kind are probably going to view it on a mobile phone. Even me, who is a business to business, that's a lot of words of business in there, but someone who sells to other businesses, most of my clients come to me through a mobile phone. So I tend to go and build in this mobile layout before I go and build in the desktop layout. So if I go, I don't really need weddings and couples. I just need weddings. So I'm going to just hit what I want to get rid of and get rid of it. And it hides it. So it doesn't delete it, it hides it. It's still present on the desktop. It's just not present on there. And what I want to do is maybe stretch this image down a bit. I just want it to go, maybe a different size, kind of fits nicely there. So I don't want to really mess with it too much, but I want to maybe move all this stuff down a bit because it's in a place where I don't think it needs to be. There's a lot of, I can make this bigger as well. I can change the position of that photo so it looks like it's in a much nicer position. Or if I just want to just have a very much a bigger version of that to take up more of the screen, I can do that. Any of these items can be hidden or they can be brought back. For instance, the ones that I had on the left that were hidden, I can reactivate those. See over here, hidden on mobile, I can reactivate them. If I say, oh no, I actually want them back, I can show them again. And then my couples and my weddings come back up again. So I might just want to move that down because now it's all gone out of place. This is one of the funny things that happens with Wix. Sometimes it just jumps out of the place where you think it was going to be and it just goes to a new spot. So I can move things around as I need to. If on there, I might want to go, I'd rather a much more clear and defined font. I can do that too. See, there's like little guidelines there on the left. It's telling me what I can do to make things lay out that much more neatly. So if I want to change that at all, I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, I can hide it, but I can't change the words in there because that's all governed by the desktop. So that's the one confusing thing you've got. I like to work in the mobile first before the desktop, but Wix actually prefers you to work in the desktop first, not in the mobile. So anything you change on the desktop, we change on the mobile as well. So if I want to change this word here, weddings, I can change that text and change it to, premium or commitments, maybe. Depends on what kind of words you're using there. So it changes that there. If I go to the mobile, that's now also changed on there. See, commitments, even though I spelled it wrong. So I can go back to the desktop, correct that spelling. The person who's really, really like strong on spelling is just like twitching at the moment. And then it connects through different places. So for instance, if I want that photo to go somewhere, I've got a link that I can select for it. See this link here? I can go, it currently goes to the weddings page. So that's right. Or we can select what other page it goes to. There's already a bunch of pages that have been set up. I want this one to definitely go to weddings. Couples, I definitely want to go to couples. Click on the link. Yes, it's going to couples. I can make it open a new window or not. Either which way. We can't really cover all the builder sides of it. What we can do is show you how to maybe update a photo here. So if I want to change anything, I essentially tap on it. I can change that image and upload something else or pull something from Wix's own library of stock photography. So they've got stuff from Unsplash, which is one of the more beautiful free ones. So I can just go here, couple, and I'm looking for a couple. So there's a couple. We might pick this couple here. I choose that image and what it will do is place that image and crop it to within the size that was already there. And then this is where people get in a mess with messing up their template. They try to resize everything. When you keep everything to the size that's already in there, that's when things just work better. So I'll do that again, change the image. Let's pick out someone, say in Unsplash. We're going to pick, I don't know, ceremony. Let's spell it right. Might be helpful. Ceremony. And then we've got like some ceremonies. There's a bit of a wedding picture there. It's nice. Some people at a wedding. I'm going to pick that one. So these are free images you can use if you don't have your own. If you're a photographer, obviously you will have your own that you want to do, and you can upload those in. And so now we've started to personalize this. Instead of Alan Parks, we're going to change that through to Julie, let's pick it, Julie Jones. I'm so white sometimes. Julie Jones photography. Not really that readable, is it? I don't really like how it's come up. So I might want to actually fiddle with that text a bit more. It's currently set. Here's all the colors and the heading sizes. The Times New Roman, I might want to change that to maybe Wix Metaphor Display, and then change my color to white. And then it comes through as white. So you've got some background options in there. You can change the font. I can change this background image by clicking on the background image. It says change strip background. that's where I change it. So I can pick something from theirs if I like and preview it to whatever they've got on there. Or I can go into finding an image again and unsplash and look for wedding. Look for wedding, maybe that beautiful one there. It's a gorgeous photo. That doesn't quite sit right. So I might look at settings and then I can move it up a bit. There you go. So maybe that one. And if I don't really like it all that much, I can always move these items somewhere else as well. And then I can preview what that looks like on my mobile. There you go, same kind of thing. I just find here that it doesn't sit quite right. It's a bit too thick. So what I'll do is just pull it in like that. So it fits right on the mobile. Now, even though it looks right on the mobile, I haven't changed what it looks like on the desktop. It still comes up on the desktop like that. So that's just a really super, super simple look at how you will change that kind of thing. You're not necessarily stuck with what's in there or the layout that's on there. You get to make changes like that. Now, the add-ons you want to have are all under this plus bit. So you can add all sorts of things. You can add strips, you can add extra boxes, lists, music and video, or you can add some of these apps. So you've got like a blog, you've got a store, you can add bookings, events, community. You can have extra designs on there, or you can go back out of here into the site and actually look at and add to the marketplace of different apps that you can add on there. So it then gives you the option to add lots of new stuff. So if I look at this content management in there, you can do, we can embed code from YouTube or other places, forms, social media. There's all these different apps you can add on there. And you can go then into bookings is down here. You can start blogging from over here as well. All of your instructions are over here. Now, this add apps will open up the app market. This is probably what a lot of people are really interested in, is what are the extended things we can do in here? So we can go something like, are we looking for someone to be able to do it like a countdown timer, a site booster to be found on search engines? Do you want a form? Do you want to look more at the analytics on your site? Do you want SMS notifications, people to subscribe to your SMS updates? It'll work with a third-party system called MKP, which is going to provide that service for you. Or you look at what the different kinds of things are over here. So if we look for photography, it might actually be, photography. And we'll look, okay, Wix photo albums, before and after slider. So you can do before and after shots of makeovers you might have done. You can drop ship art through different third-party providers. The Wix photo albums is basically what we've already got. We've already got it in there and it's already installed. So that's the one we've already used for the photo albums, say, for instance, that were under the couples and clients. If I want to move around the different pages, I do it up in the top left. So it says page home here. I can then go page weddings. And it'll now bring me up the editor for the weddings page any moment now. Here we go. And it's using Wix Photo Gallery, Wix Pro Gallery in here. Now that's only available on the paid version. There is a Wix Gallery and there's a Wix Pro Gallery that allows you to say, okay, just click on this and they'll open up with that. And you can manage the different photos that are in that gallery there. And if you go, well, that's not clear enough, it needs a title, you can actually put a title in there. So you can just type in, for instance, a title as weddings, and then it'll show up weddings. Usually would show it up on there, but I can also put in some text, add text, and add a heading 2 of weddings. I'm going to line it up the way I need to line it up to the center, so it's in the right place. Maybe put it up there if I want to. And just bear in mind though, it can be, you know, Kath and Jake's. And then you can just take that, copy it, and then bring it down here. And we can go, okay, this one can be Jen and Melissa. And then you can just move around all the different things, change the colors of those, edit the text, make it white so it shows out. So you can add a little bit more description as you're going down there. So it's infinitely customizable, infinitely changeable. The only problem you've really got in there is just that it's something which is going to be really hard for you to be able to stop yourself from over designing, because you will want to. Trust me, you will want to do it. You'll try to over design it and do a little bit too much in there. What you want to do is work with what's there, change these to your own ones, but make it so that they're all, you know, the same kind of, like, so, you know, notice how they're all the same ratio. They're all a 3:4:3 or a 16:9 ratio. You don't have some square, some portrait, some of that, because it just becomes messy and it doesn't look good. So you want it to always be, work with what the equivalent is that's already in there. So same with here, Jen and Melissa's one, they're all the same ratio of photos. You want to make sure you do that and follow that as well. Work with the template. Don't try to change everything about the template. So it's really important you find the template that really works for you and really just speaks to you and goes, yes, this is the kind of one I want.